Hello YouTubers, coming up on Yasmin's cooking show. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a classic tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is one of the 5 mother sauces: velouté, bechamel, espagnole, and hollandaise. As I mentioned last time, for the first few weeks on this channel, we're going to focus on the basics like stocks, soups, sauces, and knife skills. Now, I have gotten some suggestions already about what you think I should feature, what you want to see. I appreciate that. But I want you to understand that I am a culinary educator and I am not just teaching recipes. That's easy. My goal is to teach culinary concepts. I am from Haiti, but this is not a Haitian food channel, even though I will feature these things eventually on here. We're gonna go from stocks to sauces to chocolate mousse, enchiladas. We're gonna cover all of it, okay? So let's move on. Now, following our time in the kitchen today, we're gonna transition over to our next segment to discuss nutrition. Today, it will be vitamin C and D, their functions in the body, why we need them, as well as their food sources. Last time, I covered vitamins A and B. Please watch my episodes in order because I am laying a foundation. So press pause on this one, go back to episode 1, and I will be right here waiting for you, okay? Our culinary terms today are sauce mère and sweat. Sauce mère and sweat. And then finally, in our last segment, a moment in food history. We discussed the godfathers, the OGs of the food industry, and France's influence in the modern kitchen. Once again, it's going to be good. I'm Yasmin. Welcome to my channel. Let's get started. So what makes a great sauce? First, let's define it. A sauce is a flavored liquid designed to complement or bring out the flavor of a food. I'll give you an example, okay? A chicken breast can be bland, but when we pair it with a great sauce, its flavors come alive. Now, with a few exceptions, a sauce can be thickened with an agent like a roux or cornstarch, okay? And I'm proud to say that the French are credited for creating and refining the art of sauce making. And today we're gonna get exactly into who these men are in our segment, A Moment in Food History. Yes, I said men, okay? One of my favorite movie lines is "The secret's in the sauce," spoken by the legendary Miss Cicely Tyson in the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, starring her and Miss Kathy Bates at the Whistle Stop Cafe. And I gotta tell you, it's an American classic and I cry every time I watch it. And you know what? The secret really is in the sauce, like she said, because a great sauce does several things. Number one, it adds flavor, texture, color, moisture, and eye appeal because we eat with our eyes first. I love it. And I gotta tell you, if you've never watched Fried Green Tomatoes, you've got to check it out because it's an American classic about life and food and friendship. The first sauce I'm going to teach you how to make on this channel is the classic tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is among one of the 5 mother sauces, or sauce mère. Sauce mère is one of our culinary terms today, and the word mère is the French word for mother, and it's spelled M-E accent grave R-E or M-E accent R-E. The classic 5 mother sauces are béchamel, velouté, espagnole. Now with espagnole sauce, this is where a brown stock will come in. This is where you use beef bones or veal bones, okay? And then we have the tomato and the hollandaise sauce. And the reason why we call them mother sauces or leading sauces is because they are rarely served by themselves. Often these sauces are used to create smaller sauces. I hope that makes sense. Okay, again, let me repeat the classic 5: béchamel, velouté, espagnole, tomato, and hollandaise. Okay, very good. Tomatoes have a reputation for being very acidic. And for the moment though, let's think of it as a fruit, okay? The tomato is a fruit of the vine. It is a native to South America, and it's considered one of America's favorite vegetables. Why? Because ketchup is an American food staple, and also because spaghetti and meatballs are always a big hit in the school cafeteria. So now you know. Now, to create our sauce, we're going to sweat our tomatoes. The term sweat means to cook a food under low heat without browning. That way they can become soft and release their flavors. A good tomato sauce needs to be rich, thick, and full flavored. It includes vegetables like the mirepoix, seasonings, herbs, spices, and white stock. Now today we're going to add some white wine to give it a little pizzazz, if you know what I mean. Okay. All right. It also includes some sugar to reduce the acidity released by the tomatoes. So let's take a look at our ingredients. Here we go. All right, so here's our mise en place for the tomato sauce. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 4 garlic cloves crushed, 1.5 cups of mirepoix, 6 large tomatoes, large chunks, about 3 pounds, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. This will be used again to reduce the acidity released by the tomatoes. We're going to need 1/2 cup of tomato paste, or 4 ounces, 1 cup of white stock, 1/2 cup of white wine. This is optional. We're going to need some salt and pepper. Now, I'm never going to tell you exactly how much salt to add in your recipes. Most of them I'm not going to tell you. You just have to determine that by yourself. So anytime you see the letters TT, it means to taste, okay? We're going to need 6 fresh basil leaves, 1 bay leaf, 2 parsley stems tied up in twine for easy fishing later. So let's head over to the counter and cut those tomatoes together. We're going to start knife skills in episode 4. But for now, I want you to keep this little tip in mind. Anytime you are meal prepping, chopping, marinating, and gathering your mise en place. Now, you do remember what that means, right? Mise en place is French for put in place. Always have a scrap bowl next to you to avoid touching or going back and forth to the trash can. This is all about food safety. Let's talk about cross-contamination. Use 1 cutting board for fruits and veggies and another for protein. For example, don't cut lettuce, broccoli, etc. on the same board as you do chicken, fish, or beef. This is called cross-contamination. It's the transfer of bacteria. In my kitchen, I use a green board for fruits and veggies and red for protein. Also, have a sanitizing little bucket or bowl with warm water and a towel to keep your counter clean and to clean as you go. When it comes to food, there is nothing worse than a dirty cook. And the solution is simply a little bit of soap and some bleach. To my Haitian audience, same thing. Lè na prepare ingrédients pour nous faire manger, mettez yon bol tout près ou là, pour éviter moyen ou faire va-et-vient dans poubelle là. Ensuite, mettez un petit bouquet de l'eau tiède tout près là pour faire la propreté. Dans de l'eau, mettez un petit Clorox, un petit savon avec une toile. OK? Commençons. We're going to cut our tomatoes in large chunks. When cutting tomatoes, it's always a good idea to use a sharp knife because you don't want to be applying pressure when it comes to cutting through the skin of the tomato. Why? Because when you apply pressure on a knife, you are more than likely to cut yourself. Okay, so our tomatoes are done. Okay, and here's the rest of our mise en place. Now, under medium heat, let's saute our mirepoix and garlic in the oil without browning. Next, let's add our tomatoes, the tomato paste, the sugar, and let them sweat for 5 minutes. When you sweat something, you want to see some steam happening at the top. So let's put a lid on it, put a ring on it, fellas, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Available at Christian bookstores and online. Purchase it today.
Let's reduce this to a simmer. Add the stock, that's 1 cup. Half a cup of white wine for some pizzazz. Some salt and pepper, freshly cracked black pepper. Now we can adjust the seasoning a little later. Let's add the leaves, basil, bay leaf, and parsley. Now I let my tomato sauce simmer for an hour, and the timing really depends on how thick or how thin you want the final sauce to be. Let's close this and set the timer for 1 hour. This is our sauce after it's been cool for 15 to 20 minutes. When pureeing a hot liquid, give it time to cool off first, especially if you have a glass blender. Personally, I use a food processor. And then start blending on lower speed, holding the lid securely in place with a towel. Doing so will help prevent burns and hot liquid from spilling all over your counter. A great tomato sauce should coat the back of your spoon, not too runny and not too thick. At this time, you can adjust the seasoning with some salt and pepper. Et voilà!